Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Hear 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city sand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park. Fans drift in jerseys, legacy bold. The Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and on X. And my, oh my, what a game we had last night for our New York Mets. It started so good. All the vibes were there. All the fun times were happening at Citi Field, at our homes, watching it on TV if you weren't at the game, and it all went to shit in one inning. Chris, how are you feeling?
Yeah, extremely frustrated. I was actually out and about because I thought that we were going to do the post game as well, and it ended up being just a debacle with the delay and stuff, and it just ended up being too late. But I was enjoying the first couple of innings, and I was kind of worried in the back of my mind when we were talking about the game beforehand that Carlos Carrasco was going to go out there and just throw a gem unexpectedly, like opposing or former Mets pitchers usually do. But the offense showed up. They provided early offense and they got things going. It was a 6-0 lead, and the Mets rotation does what the Mets rotation does best, Rob. They blow it. If it's not the third inning, it'll definitely be the fourth inning for these rotation arms getting into trouble. And just like that, the Braves scored 9 unanswered runs, and they ended up scoring 11 unanswered runs in total, defeating the Mets 11-6. It was disgraceful. I mean, there's nothing else that anybody can say about that type of game. And just in general, the way that this team has been performing, it's disgraceful. And I released a video on my channel earlier today just talking about the rotation and, providing a little bit of quick stats over the past 2 months, just how bad this starting rotation has been. The fewest innings of any baseball team in the entire league from the starting rotation over the last 2 months. And they have the 4th worst record in that same span. So if you missed that video, check it out. It's in my description of the live stream right now on my channel. There's nothing else to say other than that, Rob. That just perfectly paints the picture of how brutal this starting rotation has been.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sick of being the broken record here. I really am. Like, I wish the conversation would lead back to the offense because I look like the bad guy, but my God, like this is the problem when you rely on one guy who has been doing it for the last nearly half of the games that we've played in David Peterson, and you got to rely on him. And you know what? He's allowed to have a bad one because everybody else does. He can't be perfect. Like, I'm not even blaming David Peterson in this aspect. I'm not. I'm truly not. The guy has been outstanding. He's been the only guy giving us length. He's been our best pitcher all year. I'm not blaming David Peterson. He was going to have a bad game. Unfortunately, it was this one, and it sucks. But you know what? Even though he was walking, Tom, Dick, and Harry in this Braves lineup, he did leave with a lead. Somebody could have stopped the water from, flowing through this entire freaking, flowing through the boat. It could have stopped it. Somebody could have stopped it. You know, Reed Garrett didn't have it. And this is the thing that I talk about all the time, why length is so important. Everybody is fixated on ERA. Everybody's fixated on, oh, how hard you throw, how many pitches you throw. Oh, he's great. He's really good. Look at his stuff, blah, blah, blah. Nobody talks about innings at all. Like, this is the analytical people that have brainwashed fans into believing that innings don't matter and bullpens matter more than starting pitching. You're wrong. I'm sorry. You are wrong. It's just because they tell you and they've been trying to weed out the very, very expensive starters for long-term deals. And I said this for a while, guys, and you guys got to start believing a little bit. Major League Baseball and the owners, they basically coerced this. They basically made this happen. They started with the fans, saying that, you know, we don't like the high risk of the long-term deals for these starting pitchers. And then they use the analytical departments to basically use that as evidence of possible long-term deals being a complete disaster when it comes to starting pitchers. They basically had a little bit of a, you know, a closed door meeting, so to speak, to really understand that they were doing this for a while. They want you to believe that bullpens are more important than starting pitching. They want you to believe that because it's cheaper in the long run. That's why they're doing it. And this is the same thing with David Stearns and a lot of these other, you know, younger generation type executives. They love this stuff because they love trying to save money by any means necessary and trying to act like their philosophy works. And it doesn't work. I'm sorry. It does not work. You can't rely on has-beens, question marks, and, you know, reclamation projects and not have a true ace. When you don't have one true ace, you're going to fall into a situation where the Mets are. There is nobody you can trust in this rotation. I don't care if Noah McLean comes up and even pitches well. It's not going to be enough. Like, we need 3 starters to come in this rotation and do really well. We need domination. We don't need quality starts, right? Quality starts go out the window after June, all right? After June, you need really good starts. You need some domination. I don't believe Noah McLean is going to be the savior. I just don't. I don't care if he pitches well. It's not going to be enough. So we're great. We get once every 6th day, because they are doing the 6-man rotation. We get a once every 6th day good Noah McLean outing, and that's it. Now we have to wait for somebody to show up again and do well. Honestly, I think it's a waste of time. I think you're going to bring him up because David Stearns is using all his bullets right now because he fucked up. And now we're going to see Noah McLean and everybody's going to act like he's the savior, right? Look, am I excited about Noah McLean? Of course I am. I always like to see prospects come up and see if they can thrive. But there's way too much, pressure and way too much, like this kid's going to be the savior. I'm sorry, guys. This rotation is not good enough. I don't care if you bring in Noah McLean. They didn't even have a conversation about bringing up Brandon Sproat. It was either McLean or Sproat. So that just tells you everything you need to know about what they're really thinking about this year. Again, David Stearns is a futures guy. He doesn't care about the present. I mean, it's obvious at the trade deadline. It's obvious in the offseason, the way he does things. There's too much hope going into a season. There's too many question marks going into the season that myself, and Chris talked about for many, many times. Now, I've been on the rotation bandwagon forever, but it's a problem. And Chris said it well. I think it was the other day. I forgot if it was pregame or postgame. You said it perfectly. You said if you weren't going to plan to bring these kids up during the season or even at all, you got to plan somewhere else that can help you throughout the season, either at the trade deadline or in the offseason. He clearly didn't plan for these kids to come up. So, but how can you not? Because he was hoping that more of these pitchers worked out. That's too much hope. And that's not the way to win. That's a shitty philosophy. And you know what? He's dealing with it right now because if Noah McLean doesn't pitch great, there's nowhere to turn. Because you're probably going to give him a start or two before you bring up Brandon Sproat if McLean doesn't have it. And even if they do have it, I don't think it's enough. These guys are going to be on innings restrictions. I don't think they're going to overuse them to the point where, well, even if they're good, they're coming out of the game. And it's the same problem that the Mets have continued to have, Chris, is that they can't get length. And I don't think they're going to let these kids go deep into games. I just don't. So I don't see having a guy throw 5 solid innings and then use our bullpen for 4 or 5 guys. Like, that's not going to be successful. We already seen it has been successful, even when guys go 4 or 5 innings. It's not enough. You needed starting pitching in here. You know what? I would have took 2 bullpen arms out of our bullpen and give me a starting pitcher if you wanted to use those prospects to get a starting pitcher, because it's ridiculous, Chris. It really is.
Yeah, I don't. There's minimal options left, and outside of just hoping that these starters figure it out. And we always say that hope is not a strategy, and that seems to be what it is right now, right? I mean, there's nothing else that you can possibly do except for call the prospects up. There's plenty of baseball left, and I think that we both understand that. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that these pitchers do figure it out, right? But it's pretty much everybody at this point. Peterson had what I believe is an outlier type of start,
Sure.
yesterday. But you take a look at Kodai Senga, who's going on the mound today for the New York Mets. Since June, since early June, that was his last start in which he went 6+ innings. Same thing with Clay Holmes. You know what I mean? Let's not pretend like Sean Manaea is out there and is producing greatly right now. It's still taken him a long time to sort of ramp up, and he seems to be fizzling out in the 4th or 5th inning. So it's top to bottom, and it's not just a new problem. The Mets have been dealing with this for an extended period of time. So hoping that they snap out of it it's just that. It's just hope. So the only thing they can do is what they did already, calling up McLean to start on Saturday and for the rest of the season, and also calling up Brandon Sproat. Because at this rate, there's nothing else that you can do minus call up Brandon Sproat, because they need to. They need to. You know what I mean?
He should be up. He should be pitching on the weekend. He should be with Mo McLean.
Agreed. Agreed.
There should be no reason why he's not pitching on Sunday. There's no reason why.
We don't want, and this front office didn't want these kids to come up and be the quote unquote saviors, but that's the position that they decided to put this team in, unfortunately. So now they have to come up here and be that if this team wants to make the playoffs, because now we're talking about a situation where the Cincinnati Reds are right there, 1 game back of that final NL wild card spot, while the Mets drop further away from the Padres, the Cubs, and inevitably, or actually now it's the Dodgers, because the Padres actually overtook them for the NL West lead, and also the Phillies in the division. Yesterday would have been a great day to secure a victory. Phillies lost; they got creamed by the Reds, and you could have moved it to 4 games, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, whatever you want to say. Today's a must-win game. This is a must-win series. Not because, again, and I said this in my video, a lot of repeating here, because I'm super frustrated with this production on the field. Super frustrated. Everybody should be frustrated. This is unacceptable. But, not that a single win tonight is going to drastically change the outcome of the standings. You know what I mean? It's going to help, but it's not going to drastically make the Mets, a game or half a game back of the Phillies. We all know that. But hopefully that can just sort of snowball this team into playing better baseball. I was hoping that's what game 1 would have done for the Mets, and the offense seems to have figured it out. So when you take a look at the offensive production that we might get today, I have full confidence at this point, even though I need to see more consistency from them over the next stretch of games. I think the Mets are going to come out swinging, and they're going to put up runs against Bryce Elder, I would hope. But what is Kodai Senga going to do? This game starts and is probably going to end with Kodai Senga, and if he's able to go 6 innings of competitive baseball. Because if he's not, we're going to see, and we're going to be in a world of hurt. Yesterday, Reed Garrett needed to come into the game in the 4th inning, which is absolutely ridiculous, and he had nothing. He had no answers. You know what I mean? And that's just the continued usage of all of these bullpen arms. It's repetitive, and I'm sure they're tired of what they're seeing from the starters on an everyday basis as well. So the formula is simple. The answer is simple. The Mets will make the playoffs if their starters get their heads out of their asses, and they won't if they don't. That's really the bottom line for the rest of the games moving forward this season, just over 40 games.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I just don't understand a lot of it. That's why I said there was never a plan. The plan is not good. It's just not. Like, why is somebody afraid? Why isn't Steve Cohen, like, we've all watched baseball, all right? Even when you try to put a good bullpen together, you still got to have a good starting rotation. You got to have somebody at the top that you can trust every fifth day. You need somebody like that. The Mets never had that. Never had that. And again, that dream that all Mets fans had about Sean Manaea, continue to dream, because it's not happening. I'm sorry. He's not going to be as good as last year. Everybody got duped. And now he's $20 million richer a year because of it. I'm sorry. Like, you could have gave a couple of more $1 million to more better pitchers. You could have even got better pitchers on lesser deals if you could have, but you didn't want to do that. Again, they wanted Clay Holmes to be a starter because it was cheaper. Make no mistake about it, right? They ain't fooling anybody here. Same thing goes for Frankie Montas. They try to be ahead of the game and pay Frankie Montas early $17 million for 2 years because they thought they would be ahead of it, because they thought the pitching lab is the end-all be-all, and it doesn't work for everybody, clearly. Montas not even in the rotation anymore. Man, they couldn't wait to throw Blackburn in that game yesterday. They could not wait. Oh, David Stearns. This is all David Stearns here. They could not wait. And you know what? Kudos to Blackburn. He gave up 2 runs, but he pitched 5 innings. He saved the hell out of this bullpen. We're very lucky that we had him yesterday, because if not, we would have had to use the whole entire bullpen. So, listen, it's going to continue to be a problem until he shifts away from his philosophy a little bit. Nobody's saying to make a drastic shift in your philosophy, right? You want to keep on building the farm system, build the farm system. But if you're not going to trade these guys, and people are talking about Mark Vientos hasn't played in 4 days. 4 days. Why? Right? This is what I talk about the roster log, Jim. I want to go to that in a little bit. But when it comes to the pitching, the philosophy has to shift a little bit. Right? Nobody says that you're going to be perfect. Nobody's asking you to do that. But when you see it's not working, you got to shift. And I think that's the big reason why he didn't win in Milwaukee. I think there was ways where he could have shifted a little bit in philosophy, even though he didn't have a ton of money, right? He always focused on other areas, and it was always the offense that ended up being the problem for the Brewers, and he was never able to get the bat. He was never able to get the bat at the deadline, because he always had pitching, right? He always had the Burns of the world, the Woodruffs of the world, and he always had a bullpen. But he was never able to get that hitter. And that could have been money issues, or that could have been he didn't want to trade prospects. But he ultimately never won. And I do wonder if that's his demise, if he doesn't shift in philosophy a little bit. Again, there's no reason why you can't sign one top pitcher for a big term deal. It's not gonna handcuff you financially. It's not. There's a lot of money coming off the books. And if you want to go these 1-year deals in the bullpen, I'm okay with that. I don't think that's an issue. I wouldn't want to give long-term deals, or even a 3-year deal, 2-year deal to a lot of these bullpen arms, because it's an every year thing with these bullpen arms, no matter the name, right? 1 year they could be great, the next year they'd be bad. So I understand giving 1-year deals to a lot of the bullpen arms, but you can't also do it in the rotation. Again, when you go to cheap route, who takes cheap contracts? Who takes short-term deals in rotation as starting pitchers? The ones that are not very good. The ones that either had bad seasons or haven't been good in a few years. Those are the ones that take the short-term deals and less money. That's what you're getting here. You're hoping for some guys to pitch better than what they have been for the last couple of years. And that's the problem. And he failed in every aspect. He failed in a Manaea contract. He failed in a Montes contract. He failed in a Clay Holmes contract. Now, if Clay Holmes was your 5th starter, nobody would give a shit. But because the way the rotation is set up, Holmes is more important than he should be. And Montas, who pitched how many starts since coming back? 5, maybe 6, and he's already in the bullpen, and that's it. So, we're working with nothing here. And then you have to rely on poor David Peterson to do everything. And when he has a hiccup like yesterday, now everybody's like, uh-oh. Because now Met fans are panicking. You know why? Because they saw that from David Peterson yesterday. That's scary. Because they know there's nothing going to help this rotation. Nobody's confident in Senga today. Does anybody believe Senga's going to go 6 innings today? I don't believe it one bit. Now, Kenny, sure. But is it likely? Probably not. The guy hasn't pitched 5 innings since he's come back. That's a huge problem, Chris.
Yeah, it is. It is. I also agree with you. I mean, David Stearns this offseason is going to need to show a willingness to change the philosophy a little bit. I mean, again, depending on some of the mutual options and the conditional stuff of some of the impending free agents in 2026 from a starting rotation aspect, it's going to be pretty sparse, I'd say, outside of like Framber Valdez, Cease, and Michael King. I mean, the starting rotation market is just going to be sparse. So we'll see what they do there. I think that we said it last stream. There are a lot of personnel on this Mets team currently that are tradable assets, and I wouldn't even think twice about trading those assets from a hitting perspective with the logjam that this team has and going out there and getting a viable pitcher, whoever the Mets identify that to be. But again, that's going to be an offseason discussion. And I agree. I mean, when you see your best pitcher so far this season, all in all, and David Peterson go out there and just be terrible like yesterday when things have already been going terrible. He's supposed to be a stop, like a stopper, a showstopper. Okay, we've been struggling. This is the guy that we're going to put out there to get things right. And David Peterson was absolutely not that. I think I saw some people in the chat also asking about, where this team ranks in terms of starting rotation ERA. I think they're still top 10, if I'm not mistaken, like number 7. Not that it matters. Who cares? Because they absolutely stink right now. And also the walks, as MEZ saying in the chat, the walks are the biggest issue. David Peterson, 5 walks yesterday. 5 and 3 1/3 innings pitched. Are you serious? You're never winning a baseball game like that. You're never getting to the 5th inning, let alone the 6th inning with that. Never. And Kodai Senga is awesome at that and giving up walks. That's what Kodai Senga has done. This is nothing new for him this season. Even when he was pitching really well, he gives up free bases and he works himself out of jams. It's just that recently he's not been able to work himself out of jams. How about we don't get ourselves into a jam to begin with? You know what I mean? And so whether it's the players, whether it's Hefner, who's been around here for, who knows how long at this point in this organization, the pitching lab, whatever it is, you would think that these guys and this team that has had walk issues in the past for many years that we've been talking about it, Rob, would get it together.
Yep.
The Phillies, they're bottom 10 in walks. The Cubs, the same thing. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, put yourself in a good situation, in a good spot to lengthen the outing. And I just can't see any way that's possible if you're walking 5 hitters and not even 4 innings pitched. It's absolutely egregious. That's the biggest thing for me. And the one thing that if you said the Mets starters will limit their walks or start to limit their walks slowly but surely, I'm like, all right, that's probably going to mean more success automatically. Now, how much success? Well, I'll take any sort of success relative to what we're getting right now. I think anything is a win. That's better than what we're getting right now. But I think that will solve so many problems. And it's just not happening right now. And we're not talking about walks to like premier hitters. We're talking about walks to the bottom of the opposing team's lineup, which is detrimental. Flipping the lineup over to get to the top of the lineup when you have not free outs. This is the major leagues at the end of the day, but that's supposed to be the guys that you go ahead and get out to make it 2 outs or 1 out with the top of the lineup coming up. So that's the most frustrating thing when I watch this team on a day in and day out basis is just the free passes. It drives me insane.
Yeah, and Chris, you hit the nail on the head. They've been doing this all year. Even when they were pitching well, they were walking people. They were leading the league in walks. They weren't good in that department. Oh, you know what the difference is? They were getting outs, and they were actually not letting those free bases score. And eventually, it's going to happen. That doesn't last. That's not sustainable. You can't continue to walk 4 or 5 guys a game and act like it's it's going to be okay and they're just going to leave men on every single time and get away with it. It's not going to happen, and that shit doesn't happen in the playoffs, guys. Just so everybody knows that. Kodai Senga has always played with fire since 2023. His walks were up. It's the same thing. He puts a lot of people on because the fork pitch, again, I said this for a while, the ghost pitch isn't as effective as it was. It's just not. They're not swinging at that pitch as much as they were earlier in the season or in 2023. They're not swinging at it because he doesn't throw for strikes enough. He throws it out of the zone. And if you lay off of that, all you got to wait for is as straight as an arrow fastball. And that's where he gets into trouble. Again, that's why he gets his walks. That's why he gets stuck in a lot of deep counts, because they don't swing at that pitch as often as they did earlier in the year or in 2023. And now his pitch count goes up because they're not swinging at that. He's always finding himself in 3-2 counts. And a lot of the time he's walking those guys. And eventually it's going to break. And you give up the hit, you give up a couple of hits. Well, you know what? Now it's a 4-0 lead, and you're not even in the third inning yet. Like, he needs to put guys away. There's been enough times where he's had guys 0-2 and allows it to get to 3-2 because he keeps on throwing garbage all the way outside the zone. And I understand throwing that on an 0-2 pitch and you want to see if he can go fishing, but don't keep on doing it 1-2, 2-2, 3-2. It's like, it don't make no sense. You got to start challenging these guys. And I think Senga isn't good enough to challenge these guys. I don't think his fastball is surprising anybody anymore because they're looking for the fastball now. Right? They used to fish.
Opposing hitters are hitting 300 on his fastball.
That's ridiculous because they're not swinging at that ghost fork pitch. That's the problem. That's not. I mean, why would you swing at it? You know it's not going to be in the strike zone. If you're a hitter, why would you swing on it? This is the adjustment that we always talk about, Chris. It goes with the pitchers and our hitters. You got to make the adjustment. The league has adjusted to Kodai Senga. Senga needs to adjust. I don't know how he's going to do it because he's not comfortable throwing that pitch for a strike. Maybe he has to throw more curveballs. I don't know. Maybe more changeups. I don't know. But he has to change it up. But you know what? He can barely get on the mound as it is. He needs 14 days just to get on the mound to pitch a game, and not even that well. So I don't know if he's going to adjust because I haven't seen him do it. And I think he pitches one way and hopes for the best, to be quite honest with you.
Just to back up what you're saying about Kodai Senga, I mean, I know the overall ERA it's gone up steadily over his past, 2 months worth of starts, and that's for damn sure because he's up at 2.3 now, where he was at like 1.59 before. But let's just take a look at the progression. 2024 is an outlier year. I mean, we didn't see much of Kodai Senga at all. So we're basically talking about 2 seasons, 2023 versus 2025 so far. Overall strikeout percentage was at 29.1% in 2023. Right now, it's only at 22.5. And when you have that good of a pitch that's supposed to get a lot of swing and miss with the fork ball, right, the ghost fork, 22.5% right around league average is not going to cut it with the type of pitcher that Kodai Senga is. He needs to rely more on the strikeout. Let's take a look at that fork ball that you were saying, because in 2023, the put away percentage for that pitch for Senga was 28.2%. This year, it's only at 25%. So that's almost over 3% reduction. The whiff percentage on that same pitch was at 59.5%, which is absolutely ridiculous. That was 2023, and now it's at only 40.9%. So he is getting a lot less swing and miss. He's putting hitters away with that particular pitch at a very lesser rate compared to 2023. I don't think those 2023 numbers were like, of course, like the league was going to adjust to it 100%. That was a given. I think anybody could have expected that, but we're seeing some pretty drastic decline, even though the overall numbers with that particular pitch in terms of hitter success still isn't great. You're right. I do think that they have a better understanding and a little bit more patience to lay off of that in order to get to his fastball. And he is just getting teed off on with that four-seam fastball because it's straight, and hitters know that he's probably not going to locate the ghost fork for a strike, wait for the fastball, and do most of the damage there. And that's where he's gotten into the most of his troubles.
Yeah. It just seems like that. And I didn't even need the stats to see that. Like, it was just obvious, especially this year. And to fact check everybody, and, David saying that I've called Senga an ace. I've never And Chris, you've been on hundreds of shows with me. I've never said Senga was an ace. I laughed at people saying that. I never, ever, 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 ever said that. I didn't want that guy to throw a pitch in the postseason last year when he came back from injury because I did not want him to pitch because, again, what were we going to get for somebody who's just coming back from injury? There was no time to ramp him up at all. I never seen him as an ace. I didn't say him as the ace coming into this season at all. I just never did. Sorry, I just never did. And I didn't want Sean Manaea because of the reason why he got hurt. I said that in the offseason. Please, Chris can remember this. How many times did I say it? What did I say in the offseason? I don't trust that mechanical change he made.
You had big concerns about Sean Manaea's, I guess, injury status moving forward, given the mechanical change. And we saw that already so far this season. And we already saw it with the loose bodies in his elbow that he might have a procedure done this offseason for.
Yeah.
So I do agree. You did say that.
Yeah. And that's the, like I said, I wasn't mad about signing Manaea. I thought it would be a good move, but I wanted Manaea plus something better. That would have made more sense. Manaea being the savior of this rotation isn't smart. It's just not good business. And for somebody like David Stearns, who focuses in on economically good business, it wasn't good business because that's $20 million that we haven't seen pitch a lot this year. And he hasn't performed like he did last year. And I know it's, he had to come back and start, building up his strength again. But again, how many times are you going to wait for him to build up his strength? He can't get into the fifth inning. He can't finish the fifth inning. He's throwing 75, 80 pitches, and they have to take him out because he's getting rocked. It just doesn't work. You can't do that. Like that's the problem when people get excited. Look, he wasn't coming back in May here. All right. He came back at nearly the end of July after the All-Star break. Or he pitched right before the All-Star break. But you guys know what I mean. His first start was after the All-Star break. It was near August. You don't have time to push this guy and to, get him stronger and make that pitch count go up when you're trying to win ball games. It's very hard to do. That's why they should have left him in the minors for at least another start or two and get to 90 to 95 pitches, regardless of how many runs he gives up, to strengthen his arm up. So when he comes up for the Mets, he can throw 90-something pitches. And again, nobody says he's going to pitch well or not, but at least you have that. You don't have to worry about that. You can throw him throw him 90 to 95 pitches. You can't do that because he hasn't been ramped up. That's the problem. You're trying to win, and every broadcast, just listen to Keith Hernandez or Ron Darling or Gary Cohen. They say it every time. And I think Manaea pitches tomorrow, right? If I'm not mistaken, on Friday. I think he pitches tomorrow. So listen to what the broadcast is going to say. They're going to say, and they're going to talk about Senga and why he hasn't been good and blah, 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 and all that. But listen when they talk about Manaea. Well, you know what? They're going to need Sean Manaea to go deep. And they said that the last two starts prior to his start. Like, you can't have 3 starts in a row when you have to try to ramp him up. And oh, by the way, we're trying to win a division or make the playoffs. Like, we got less than 45 games here, guys. Like, there's no time to be patient. And it's so stupid the way they're doing this. It just doesn't make sense. You can ask the player that rehab assignment is officially done based on the CBA. You can ask the player to stay down there. And Sean Manaea is a team guy. You don't think he would have said, yeah, you know what? I think I have to ramp myself up until 90-something pitches. Of course he would do it. But the Mets didn't want it because they probably knew, in my opinion, that they weren't going to go out and get a starting pitcher at the deadline. So, hey, let's get him back before the All-Star break so it gets people excited so people can get brainwashed as David Stearns and his propaganda that he loves to spill out there, and do it before the deadline so people can shut up about the rotation. Well, I'm not going to shut up about the rotation because I felt confident in it, everything I said about that, and unfortunately it has come to fruition, and it's so annoying because I want to be wrong. I really, 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 really do. I would love to say I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it, Chris. I'm sorry.
Again, in the off season, I was questioning a little bit of what the actual strategy was. I mean, I didn't really like the Montas signing. Hanning, I was kind of questioning what that was all about too, although he had a hell of a start to a season before the actual injury started to fizzle out, and then he got injured with the Achilles. But for me, it was okay, wait to see what happens in the first half, but don't double down on not addressing a need if it becomes a need. And the starting rotation gave, right, even before the season started in spring training, all the signs to David Stern saying, hey, prepare for the inevitable of going out and getting a starter or preparing these guys in the farm system to come up earlier than expected. Of course, they waited up until this point to make the move for McLean. And if it were up to me, again, I don't care about the service time at this point. We could talk about
They
that
do.
when the time comes for it, but they do clearly, and that's what it's all about. And they waited, and now they are paying the price because of it. We're all paying the price because this is it's ridiculous. It's to watch these starters do what they have done. It's almost like insult to injury, knowing that okay, you built the rotation this way in the offseason. You doubled down on that decision by not trading for anybody at the deadline. And then also the third thing on top of that, which is the icing on the cake, is that you also were very hesitant to pull the trigger on moving these kids up until that service time manipulation date hit. It's like the perfect trifecta of pissing all of us off, right? And that's exactly what happened. So, I don't know. At this point, I know hope is not a strategy, but basically the Mets are hoping that this pitching can turn things around. That's really that's what it is, man. And the offense, it's a shame because this offense is finally figuring it out. You know what I mean? They're putting up the necessary runs to accumulate wins, at least in the past 4 to 5 games, and the pitching is not holding up its end of the bargain. And it
Yeah,
was complete 180 earlier this season, right? Where the offense wasn't pulling its weight, but the Mets were still winning games because the pitching was so good. And it's just 180 right now. But yeah, I mean, listen, David says they are not hoping. There's nothing they can
they're
do
hoping.
but hope. Of course, they're
Yeah,
hoping. There's no answer. The only other answer that they have in their back pocket is Brandon Sproat. That's the only thing. And when you are calling up prospects this late because your team is struggling, I'm sorry, but that's hoping. That's hoping that they come up
yep,
here and contribute in a major way because they are still unproven at the end of the day. As exciting as it is to see them, and it will be to see them, that's hope. So, yeah,
yeah.
none of this team has clicked. None of this
I,
team has clicked
I
together.
agree with that. I agree with that. But again, this is David Stearns putting a roster construction together, right? Why are we blaming David Stearns for that? Right? It's the same thing. You know what? When you give a lot of 1-year deals and you give a lot of new guys in here because you don't want to give anybody long-term deals, and you got to basically very different rotation than you had last year. It's a lot of new guys, and yeah, you can add Soto to that mix as well. But all the new guys are from the bullpen and from the rotation. It's a lot of the new guys are from there, right? For the most part, the lineup and the benches are mostly the same guys. What's the change there? It's Juan Soto who's part of this lineup now long term and who's much different than what we had earlier. And it's mostly the bullpen guys and the rotation that are different. So, it continues to be the problem is that you knew going into this that there could be a major problem with this rotation. Because everything had to go right. Let's make no mistake about it. David Peterson and another pitcher, let's say if it was Manaea, but again, we had to wait until Manaea until almost the end of July. So let's not even bring up Manaea. It was Kodai Senga's responsibility to be 1-2 with David Peterson. He's failed. And don't give me that nonsense that he got hurt. He always gets hurt. That's the problem with him now. He always gets hurt. So, being available is also important. That's part of your job, right? How you pull a hammy by just stretching when all you do is stretch when you're not pitching. That's all they do. How do you pull an hamstring just by covering first base? Like, come on. Like, he made a stretch and he pulled a hamstring and he was out a month. And then we know how that goes with Kodai Senga when he goes out for injury, right? He has to wait. Oh, wait, let's not put him back yet. We have to make sure he's fine, make sure he's comfortable. And, there's no urgency with Kodai Senga at all. right? He still can't pitch every 5th day, which should be what they needed to do for him. They should have transitioned him. I mean, you have a spring training, fix that. But they know he doesn't pitch well on a 5th day. That's the problem. That's why they don't pitch him. You think that if you really think the Mets want to go through a 6-man rotation because it's a cute thing to have and a cute thing to do? No. Because with a 6-man rotation, that means you need another pitcher in there that's probably bad. It's just that simple. You need another pitcher that is probably bad. So don't think it's a good idea. They're doing it because they know Kodai Senga can't pitch every 5th day. So they're relying on a 6-man rotation that they've been trying all year to give that extra day off for Kodai Senga for the hope of him staying healthy, number one, and going out there every 5th day and being a top 2 starting pitcher. Because that's what they continue to see him as. Again, some Met fans still do. You're an idiot. I'm sorry. You are. But he's not. I'm sorry. How can you tell me this guy's a top pitcher when you can't rely on him on an everyday basis, on an every game basis when he starts? And on top of that, this is a guy that's supposed to pitch for us in the playoffs when he needs 5 days off to pitch on the 6th day. When are you going to use him in the postseason? He's going to pitch once every series. That's not going to happen. That's going to be very hard to win because you got to count on David Peterson more and Sean Manaea more. And we don't even know if those guys can handle it because somebody said it in the chat, Chris. David Peterson, last year he threw 170 innings. He hasn't thrown back-to-back seasons like that in his career. So he might even be breaking down for all we know, which is even more scarier when it comes to this rotation. This is bad, guys. Like, if you don't think it's bad, then I don't know what you need to see to where it can get worse because it's already terrible. We're in our worst stretch of the year. It can't get worse than this. I mean, it could, but it's already really
It definitely could. It could always get worse, I think. What I'll say is, first of all, I see Mets Flicks here in the chat saying David Stearns' job it might be on the line. I don't think so. I don't think he's going anywhere. And I just don't think that's the case.
I don't think it's smart to do that now. I really don't think so.
Like, it's not. I mean, it's not.
Sustainability. As much as I don't like David Stearns, you need You need stability at the top. You need stability at the manager, right? You can't keep on changing them every 2 years. There's no stability there. You know, we talked about that a couple of years ago. You need stability. That's why I was questioning firing Buck Showalter. Like, I think sometimes you got to keep stability at the executive level, at the manager sometimes, because you keep on changing it. All you're keeping is the same players. At some point, you got to start blaming the players. And
yeah,
I think the stability matters. As much as I don't like David Stearns, it would be stupid to get rid of him because, again, somebody could come in and be worse. I mean, it could be better, but most likely worse.
Well, you're also saying, I mean, you're also in year 2 of a team that he inherited, and he's still trying to kind of mold into his own, and it's just really not fair. I mean, I understand that the pitching side of things and the acquisitions have been lacking. And I also just don't see David's point here about how this is Steve Cohen's fault either. The only thing that Steve Cohen, I would like to see him do this offseason is just give David Stearns a little bit of a nudge and say, hey, listen, this rotation is not going to cut it. I don't really know exactly which players you should go out and trade for, but we need something that's not going to replicate last offseason with Griffin Canning and Frankie Montas. We need, impactful arms, however you want to do it. Free agents, I'll give you the money. Trades, feel free to trade the prospects for MLB ready talent. And that includes Vientos, could care less if he gets traded. Acuna, could care less if he gets traded. Beatty, Mauricio, could care less if any of those guys get traded. All 4 of them. Do what you got to do. Of course, they're not going to trade all 4. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that you throw any one of those names out there in a package deal for an impactful arm, I'm doing it and not thinking twice about it. And that's the way this offseason should go because going into 2026, right? Hopefully the offense is a little bit more consistent. It's already too late for that consistency now at the offense. Hopefully they get it together here towards the tail end, but hopefully we get an entire season of consistency in 2026, and there we can build a competent team, and it'll be just, free flowing, I should say, to begin this season. So what's done is done now. All we can hope is that the strategy changes from the pitching standpoint in the offseason. But that's my problem with all of this, is that it just seems like this organization is so damn stubborn. So damn stubborn, from the roster construction philosophy from the pitching side of things, right? To Clay Holmes needing to be a starter and them not willing to budge with him being in the bullpen this season. Listen, he's on a 3-year deal. You didn't sign him to 5 years, 6 years. You know what I mean? 3 years will come and go just like that. Are we really going to just put all this maximum effort into converting him into a starter? You do that, and maybe he figures that out in year 2 and year 3, and then he walks elsewhere to be a starting pitcher elsewhere in free agency because he finally wants to get his money. And if he wants to get his money, guess what? That means the Mets probably not going to want to give him what he wants. So it just doesn't make sense. At some point, we have to stop with these projects. You know what I mean? Projects are fine. Projects are good.
Yeah.
When Clay Holmes, who was signed as a project and has performed like a project, right, in the last 2 months of the season, if you're telling us that he's going to be starting this rotation, fine. 5th starter, right? No, he's like number 3 right now, which is a total problem.
That's the problem right there. That's the problem right there. It needs to be the 4th or 5th starter that can be question marks and reclamation projects, not your top 3 starters. It just doesn't work. It's almost impossible to do that because you need more to go right than anything else. And that's probably not exactly the right way to go about it. It's not. And again, everybody goes back, oh, what about last year? What about last year? Manaea was a reclamation project. We all know that, right? Luis Severino, it was about keeping him healthy. This wasn't a reclamation project where the guy hasn't been, was healthy all these years in a row, but just wasn't pitching well. And the Mets figured him out. It wasn't that. We know he had the stuff. He had to stay healthy. Sean Manaea wasn't very good until he changed his mechanics. And again, I've said that, when you're going through your entire career, and Sean Manaea is on the back end of his career, let's be honest about that. He is. When you go throughout your whole entire career pitching one way, and your body's so accustomed to it, and you drastically make a mechanical change of throwing more 3/4 and changing up your tire mechanics, that is going to mess with your body. It is. And there's no guarantee that Sean Manaea is ever going to be the same again. We don't know that, right? Why do we just assume that oblique isn't the reason why he might not be looking as best as he is and can't, figure things out on the mound? What about that loose body? Maybe that's more of an issue the Mets are leading on. How do we know that? We don't know that, right? They're not going to say that because they know they're desperate. And they rather blow Manaea's arm out this season than worry about it now. They'll worry about it in the offseason. I swear to God, I truly believe this. We're going to hear about a major surgery for Sean Manaea after this season, and not just the loose bodies. And I don't want to put that into existence, but I don't like to lie to you guys. I feel that way 110%. And that's frustrating because that's the same reason why short-term deals and long-term deals when it comes to risk of players getting hurt is the same nonsense. It affects you that year, right? Who would you want back in an injury-plagued season? Do you want Manaea coming back or do you want Corbin Burns? You want Manaea coming back or you want another pitcher that got hurt that's better? The better pitcher comes back just like the guy who is mediocre or average at best. They're going to come back. But I'll have more confidence in the better pitcher coming back than the mediocre pitcher because that pitcher was already mediocre when he was healthy. What do you think is going to happen after the injury? He's going to get better all of a sudden? No. I'd rather go with the better pitcher every day of the week. And you know what Stearns is going to do? Chris, we know this. He's going to go into the season saying, "Oh, we got McLean, we got Sproat, we got Tom. We're going to give them opportunities to win a job in this rotation, and that's going to be the talk of the offseason. And if this team loses because of this rotation, everybody's going to be talking about Valdez in the offseason. Everybody's going to be talking about Cease and King. They're going to start talking about that. You know why? Because they're proven talent. That's why. They're proving guys that are better than everybody we have in our rotation now. And at the moment, they're better than these kids at the moment. And that's not fair to the kids, but it's true. And that's going to be the rhetoric that we're going to get from David Stearns about the kids. So
they're all 30 plus years old, so you know that means that the Mets aren't going after them.
Correct. That's why he's going to bring up the kids like it's his life raft. That's exactly what it is. And that's an issue. That is a huge issue. And I don't know, man. Like, I don't have no faith in this rotation at all. So, like, I don't even know how we're going to get through the rest of the season, let alone get into the playoffs. Getting into the playoffs, man, I mean, find me a god in any religion and I'll pray to it. I promise you. I go anywhere. I don't care, right? I don't care what the religion is. I go there and pray because this rotation needs a lot of prayer. Hope's out of the question. They need prayers. And maybe David Stern's in Japan and doing some Buddhist something or wherever the hell he is in Asia. Do that because he needs to start praying because the hope shit doesn't work. So, Chris, the lineup tonight. Mauricio DHing. Terens is catching. Obviously, Alvarez can't catch every day, so we all know that, right? Viento's sitting once again. Again, I'm glad we didn't trade him so we can keep that bench warm. And Acuna's keeping the minor league bench warm as well. So I'm glad we didn't trade those guys. Those are two guys that could have went with Luis Robert, by the way, but let me digress. So yeah, what do you think of this lineup? They scored 13 runs and then they scored 6 runs. So 19 runs in 2 games. Should have been enough to win both of those games, and they won one. They obviously lost another. What do you expect from this lineup? And any thoughts about Kodai Senga?
I think that this lineup's going to show up. I mean, I don't think Bryce Elder is the guy that's supposed to be, going out there and being shut down. I don't know what kind of season he's having, but I can't imagine it's like a great one if I'm not mistaken. I mean, this Braves team is decimated, but somehow, some way, Mr. Michael Harris always finds a way to kill this team, no matter how bad the season, no matter what's going on with the Braves. Expect Michael Harris to do some crazy stuff against the Mets because that's just the guy that has inherited before it was Chipper Jones, now it's Michael Harris is always a thorn in the Mets sides. It's absolutely insane how that works out. And every team has their own Met killer, by the way. So I don't know, man. I mean, this Braves offense, I said it, before game 1 of this series, like they don't impress me. But when you have a rotation that's doing what they're doing, of course, any lineup's going to be able to have success against this rotation. I don't have any worries about this lineup, though. I think that they're going to come around. I think they'll score runs. I think they'll give Kodai Senga some sort of lead, just like they did for David Peterson yesterday against Carlos Carrasco. It's really ultimately up to Kodai Senga if the Mets are going to win this game.
Yep.
If he goes out there, I don't even I'm done even hoping for 6 innings. You give me 5 innings of competitive baseball. Like, that's what we've gotten to at this point, Rob. We've gotten to no longer screaming, right, for 6 innings. We just want 5. Give us 5 clean innings. And like, it's sad that we can't even expect 6 and we're asking for 5. It's sad, but that's what it's come to. Mullins is having a really good time as a New York Met right now. I've been really impressed with him. McNeil seems to be, swinging the bat really well. Pete Alonso, I mean, there's nothing else to say about Pete Alonso and the type of month that he's having here in the first half of August. He's been absolutely fantastic. Juan Soto, was that his 29th or 30th home run of the season last night?
I think it was 29. I think it was 29.
High 20s, whatever it is. He's going to be 30 plus again. This lineup is going to come around. They're going to do what they're supposed to do. I have no doubt about it. Even if you have Mauricio Beatty Terens to round things off, I don't care. They're going to put up runs, I would imagine. Kodai Senga, I mean, that's what it boils down to. This bullpen too. I mean, you're not going to see Reed Garrett. I believe in this bullpen to come in and be impactful. I do. This is a
put him in the right spot
on paper.
They got to put him in the
right spot. Like if they need to come in the 6th inning, okay, that's fine. But there's no reason why they should be coming in the 5th inning and before that. There's no reason.
Yeah, and Mendoza has to keep the game going, unfortunately.
Right.
And it's not even Mendoza's fault.
Right. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I hear you. But right now, I didn't have any faith in this lineup about the middle of this season. But I think that with the last couple of games and what they've been showing me, like results aside, they're just putting good contact on the baseball. And I think that that will continue. So I don't think that going into this game, because this is a must-win series, a must-win game for the New York Mets. Everybody knows that. I mean, all of them are must-win at this point of the season. It's no longer April, May, where we can say, "Oh, just wait. It's so early on to the season." No, the time is now. The time is now. It's been now, but especially right now, the time is now. So, um, yeah, I'm very interested to come back onto the post game with Zach, because Zach and I got you all covered tonight for the post game. I believe you're not available, Rob, is what you said. Zach and I will be available. We'll be doing the post game. That's going to be a big talking point, Kodai Senga's performance. And if he goes out there and craps the bed, oh man, I'm not going to be happy. I think Zach will be a little bit more calm than I am, but I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah, and look, even if the Mets win and Senga doesn't pitch well, it's still got to be almost a top two topic of conversation because it's going to be the same problem. So again, find a way to win today. I don't care how you do it. I really don't. Like if you guys score 10 runs to win, score 10 runs to win. I don't think the pitching is going to be good enough to dominate a game and win a ball game 2-1. To be quite honest with you, but just get the job done. You got to win this series, right? You can't lose a series to the Braves. They're not good. You can't lose a series to the Braves, right? The Phillies gave you all the help in the world the last 2 nights. You could have been 4 games out. You could have remained 2 games ahead of the Reds. Now you're 1 game, and you're still 5 games from the Phillies. You got to win games here, right? This isn't time to be patient. We got to keep going here. We got to get that urgency going here, and the lineup is looking better. It's not even just that they're scoring runs; they're putting better at bats together, right? They're getting deeper in counts, right? They're not over. I mean, besides Soto swinging over his, swinging out of his shoes yesterday to hit that 3-run home run, but they weren't swinging out of their shoes on every pitch. They were working counts. They were hitting the ball the other way. It was nice to see. So they got to keep on continuing that. I think the offense is going to be fine, right? I always expected this from the offense, and they're doing their job. You score 6 runs, you should win. I'm sorry, right? The line doesn't need to score 12 runs to win a ball game. If that's the case, like once in a blue moon, fine. But you can't constantly score 9, 10 runs every game because your pitcher's giving up 8, 9 runs every game. It's not sustainable at all. So get the job done. By any means necessary, win. Mendoza's going to have the disposal of his bullpen today if he needs it. So he's got to find any way he can to win this ball game. I don't have no faith in Kodai Senga. I guarantee he's going to be out prior to the 5th inning, and he might touch the mound on the 5th inning, but I don't think he's going to get through it. So it's going to be up to the bullpen once again to probably hold a lead for the remainder of the game. And if they do that, great. If they don't, well, Chris and Zach are going to take care of business in that postgame. I have no doubt about that. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning into the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channels on X. Yeah, Chris.
I have one more thing. First of all, great comment about Mauricio being the DH today in the chat. I mean, Vientos hasn't played in like 4 days. He hasn't started in 4 days. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about their confidence in Vientos right now. And 2, before we end this pregame, did you see that article by Heyman talking about the Mets in this offseason, what they could, be looking at? They were first of all, Heyman approached the Yankees and asked something stupid if they would be willing to do a do-over and trade with the Mets for Juan Soto back. Like, come on, dude. Like, really? Like, I would have just ended the interview right then and there if I was anybody from the Yankees side of things hearing that. But they should have just stopped it. But what Heyman went on to say is that the Mets front office, probably David Stearns, is said to really like Cody Bellinger. So you talk about Alonso and that situation with Cody Bellinger being able to play first base. Nobody's going to like it. I'm not sure if that's the overall plan. Maybe Cody Bellinger as the outfielder. I don't know, but very interesting because Bellinger is going to opt out of that deal, most likely to go for a longer term deal. That's a name to keep an eye out on. I was very surprised when I saw that article coming at this point of the season from Heyman talking about the offseason and that it has nothing to do with the season right now. That's an offseason thing to worry about. Maybe Bellinger just goes back to the Yankees. I don't know, but I just thought that was interesting. So Heyman gave me a little bit of a good laugh there with the whole Juan Soto discussion. But Cody Bellinger, apparently. Anyways, let's go win a game. Who cares about the offseason? We'll roll around to that and those topics and videos when we get to it. But let's go win a game. This is what's right in front of us right now is the most important, and that should be the most important to these players too. Win this damn series. Win it.
There you go, guys. So that is the pregame. Check Chris and Zach out on the postgame, hopefully with some happy thoughts if the Mets win. With that said, guys, have a good night. Enjoy the game. Let's go Mets. And make sure you check in with Zach and Chris on the postgame, guys. Have a good night.
Let's go Mets.
Seven train rumble, headed to the field. Orange and blue vibes, the energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, repping both hoods. Rob and